Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Victoria's sitter drama, Holly's enraging news, Stefan missing Days of Our Lives reveals that EJ DiMera left an angry voicemail for Stefan DiMera who had gone MIA and wasn't answering calls or textbooks. Nicole DiMera refocused out that it was early and suggested Stefan might still be asleep, but EJ prevaricated about overseas DiMera business and said Stefan should set an alarm. When Holly Jonas came downward, she berated EJ for having Tate Black arrested. EJ assured Holly that he decided not to press charges and that Tate was transferred back to the hallway house. That calmed Holly down briefly, but she flipped out once she got updates on the ankle examiner and restraining order news. Holly claimed on taking a walk in the domain alone and stormed out. EJ and Nicole were upset about the possibility of further than fellowship between Holly and Tate, so they sounded glad about the restraining order keeping them piecemeal. As for the christening event that Nicole was planning to throw, EJ wondered if it was really the stylish time for that. Still, Nicole felt it would be rude to cancel so late. Plus, the idea of being close to Jude Brady was ever helping Nicole heal from the loss of her baby boy, so EJ understood. In the city forecourt on Wednesday's day's occasion, Eric Brady met up with Teresa Donovan and heard the rearmost details of the Tate saga. Teresa didn't suppose Tate and Holly were good for each other considering everything that had happened. Eric had to leave when Jude got fussy in his stroller, but he gave Teresa a little vim talk before he walked out. In the domain on Wednesday's DOL show, Eric ran into Holly and heard her complaints about Tate's illegal treatment. Eric flashed back to promising Brady Black that he'd talk to Holly since she sounded to be hiding her recovered recollections of New Year's Eve. Although Eric gave Holly a punch to tell him what she flashed back, Holly continued to act hazy on the details and said she just knew Tate was innocent because he was a good Joe. Back with EJ, he called someone named Gregory and wondered if effects were each set to take Stefan to the airport. Since Stefan didn't show up, EJ fumed and climbed to find his family for his escape plot. At home on Wednesday's day's occasion, Xander Cook and Sarah Horton enjoyed another round in bed together before having a porridge breakfast and heading out to pick up Victoria Horton Cook. At the Kiriakis' manse, Maggie Kiriakis was having a hard time getting Victoria to stop crying, so Konstantin Meliunis reflected on how he used to get Katharina to sleep when she was a baby. Konstantin asked if he could hold Victoria, so Maggie allowed it and sounded touched as Konstantin sang Victoria a Greek lullaby while tromping her around the room. Once Xander and Sarah showed up, Xander sounded uncomfortable with Konstantin holding Victoria and snappily took the baby back. After Konstantin left on Wednesday's day's occasion, Xander told Maggie that they'd be more comfortable if it was just Maggie when she babysat. Maggie allowed. That was illegal and defended Konstantin since he was so good with Victoria. Since Konstantin had opened up to Maggie about the loss of his own son, Maggie acted like that made his sweet bond with Victoria indeed more important. Once Maggie left the room, Sarah wondered if Maggie singing Konstantin's praises helped change Xander's mind. On the negative, Xander was more convinced than ever that Konstantin was conning Maggie. In the city square again, Konstantin ambuscaded Teresa for a progress report and learned she's gotten so near to getting an engagement ring from Alex Kiriakis before he chickened out. Teresa admitted to moving out of the apartment, but Konstantin dragooned her to get her head in the game and cinch in Alex's fortune since he was making so important progress with Maggie. Although Teresa advised Konstantin not to underrate Maggie and suggested she'd ultimately see through the con, Konstantin was brimming with confidence. In their suite at the Salem Inn, Johnny DiMera and Chanel DiMera got passionate again before enjoying a sit-down breakfast. Chanel allowed. A homecoming festivity would be nice for Paulina Price, Jackie Harry, since she was getting released from the sanitarium. Johnny questioned if they could pull it off in time, but Chanel allowed. They indeed could. Subsequently, Johnny made a phone call and verified Steve Johnson, Stephen Nichols, was going to help with the small welcome home gathering. Chanel and Johnny also spend some time reflecting on how far they'd come in their relationship. The newlyweds also agreed to stick to their Horton Cabin honeymoon plan and offered a vaticination on a more fantastic holiday. Down the road. Days of Our Lives spoilers say Johnny and Chanel have plenitude of highs and lows ahead of them as hubby and woman. Xander's bad dream is a presentiment, Sarah and Victoria kidnapping ahead? Days of Our Lives reveal that Xander Cook didn't rest veritably well once he was released on bail. After Xander got passionate with Sarah Horton and fell asleep with her, he woke up uneasy over her agony. In Day's March 19th occasion, Xander talked about seeing Sarah holding Victoria Horton Cook as they headed into a lair in the distance. Unfortunately, Xander wasn't suitable to get to his family, and formerly he eventually did end up in the lair. Sarah and Victoria were gone. After Sarah assured Xander that it was just a dream, Xander reflected on the reason why he'd it. In Xander's opinion, it was about the charges that were still hanging over him. Still, that agony maybe sounded more significant than that. What if there was a deeper meaning to that bad dream? Could it have been a presentiment? We don't have Susan Banks around to interpret effects for us, but she'd presumably say that seems like some kind of grim vaticination about the future. Still, why were Sarah and Victoria heading into that lair and getting lost? If Xander fears he could be trapped behind bars indefinitely. It made it feel like Victoria and Sarah were the bones. Stuck in trouble. Maybe Xander has interpreted the dream all wrong and will realize that formerly a hijacking extremity happens. Some shocking news could change Xander's whole perception. Day's spoilers suggest that Sarah and Victoria could fluently get kidnapped at some point, especially if the walls near in on Konstantin Melalouni's still. Could he abduct Sarah and Victoria to hold them for rescue? If Konstantin's plot to swindle Maggie Kyriakis out of the Kyriakis fortune eventually fails, that might be an option to consider, especially if Xander's agony is an indication about what's to come. Down the road on Days, perhaps that dream could help Xander if he realizes a lair is indeed where Sarah and Victoria are being held. Sarah talked about there being light at the end of that lair as she worked to assure Xander about his agony. That could be the case in reality too if Xander comes to Sarah and Victoria's deliverance. Days of Our Lives spoilers say Xander, Victoria and Sarah will inescapably have further DOL drama ahead of them, so stick with us for updates on all the excitement. New hot couple in Salem. Sloane and Stefan's romantic implicit? Days of Our Lives and rumors tease there could be a new hot couple in Salem if the showrunners decide to try them. How about testing Stefan DiMera and Sloane Peterson Brady's romantic eventuality? Days of Our Lives both marriages feel headed for doom. Both Sloane's and Stefan's marriages feel headed for doom, with Sloane lying to Eric Brady and Stefan slipping up and sleeping with Ava Vitali. Right now, EJ DiMera has a plan to help Stefan shirk charges for shooting Harris Michaels, but he'll get drunk and confess to Chad DiMera. Days of Our Lives spoilers. New hot couple in Salem. Sloane and Stefan's romantic potential. From there, Stefan will eventually confess to the Bobbies. And Ava's formerly frenetic at him for shooting Harris. Word of their slip-up might get to Gabby DiMera. Stefan can hardly be represented by the DA, and he's clearly not going to be represented by Melinda Trask or Justin Kyriakis. That leaves Sloane as the only attorney in Salem who could conceivably represent him. Salem's a bit short on attorneys since Belle Brady left. DOL Sloane Peterson Brady and Stefan DiMera could come close. Sloane could have a pattern of falling for guests. That's how she and Eric got together. What if she and Stefan clicked and got romantically close? It's nearly a sure bet that when the verity comes out and it will about Jude Brady being Nicole DiMera's, Eric will protest Sloane to the check. Likewise for Gabby, who wouldn't tolerate Stefan cheating on her when she's in captivity for an indeterminate time, and that could leave Sloane and Stefan to romantically bond. Both Brandon Barish and Jessica Surfedy are presently rephotographing, so it's likely that both Stefan and Sloane think out of their charges and Sloane's just the counsel to do it. Days of Our Lives, they could be hot. Sloane and Stefan, no mistrustfulness could be hot, where the powers that be at DOL couple them over. Eric's just not that forgiving that he wouldn't disjoin Sloane and move on. Gabby and Stefan's relationship started with collective hate that turned to hot coitus that turned into love, and Sloane has a strong and manipulative nature like Gabby. That could make for some hot coitus scenes like Stefan and Gabby formerly had before he took a pellet for his mama and failed for her many times. There might be a couple of couplings that be out of this plot. EJ and make his own family. That's a conflict of interest. When EJ's manipulations come to light, Nicole might disjoin him too, and Eric'll be revived, albeit with a recast Nicole.